The state of Illinois spent 40 years trying to get rid of a building nobody wanted. 3 governors pushed to demolish it. A 600 lb granite slab fell off the exterior onto a downtown Chicago street. The building was leaking, overheating in summer, freezing in winter, and consuming $17 million a year in operating costs before a single repair was made. When Illinois finally sold it, they took $105 million for a building that cost $172 million to construct. The buyer immediately brought in Google. Google immediately committed $280 million to fix it. Something doesn't add up unless you know what Google knows about this building. To understand why Illinois was so eager to get rid of this building, you need to understand what 40 years of neglect actually looks like inside a 1.2 million square FT glass box in the middle of downtown Chicago. The James R. Thompson Center opened in 1985. Governor James Thompson called it a building for the year 2000. Architect Helmut Jahn designed a sweeping 17-story glass atrium wrapped in a colorful salmon teal and white exterior that made it look, depending on who you asked, either like a spaceship had landed in the loop or like a civic embarrassment. Within a year, the complaints were already pouring in. The building's glass skin was made of single-pane, non-thermally broken panels. In a Chicago summer, the atrium climbed past 110° F, while the air conditioning ran full blast and completely failed to keep up. In winter, those same open spaces dropped to near freezing. Workers used umbrellas indoors, not because of rain, but because the unfiltered glare made it impossible to see their computer screens. The roof leaked chronically decade after decade, with state documents and equipment taking water damage through multiple administrations. There were rat infestations, elevator noise so severe that the state had to install sound-dampening panels around the shafts, and a drainage problem quietly eroding the concrete columns for years. In 2009, a 600 WB slab of granite broke off one of the exterior columns and landed on Clark Street below. Nobody was killed, but the state stripped every granite panel from every column before another one came down. Annual operating costs were running at $17 million per year, 4 times what comparable loop office spaces cost to operate. 3 governors had tried to sell the building. The problems kept compounding. In 2022, they finally closed a deal. A development venture led by Michael Raschke of the Prime Group and Quintin Primo of Capri Investment Group purchased the building for the equivalent of $15 million, $30 million in cash, and a separate office building at 115 South LE Street, valued at $75 million. The approximately 2,200 state employees who had been working in the Thompson Center were relocated out. The building that cost $172 million to construct was gone for a fraction of its original price, and the buyer had already lined up a tenant. That tenant was Google. Illinois saw a liability. Google saw something entirely different. The Thompson Center sits directly above the Clark and Lake Station, the single most connected transit hub in all of Chicago. 6 separate elevated train lines converge there, linking the south side, the west side, and the north side. No other building in the loop sits on top of all 6 of those lines at once. For a company trying to bring 2,000 employees into one urban headquarters, that kind of transit access is a foundational asset. Structural engineers found something equally important when they assessed the building. The concrete and steel frame was sound. The load-bearing systems needed 0 reinforcement. Every problem the Thompson Center had was in its skin and its systems. The glass, the HVAC, the mechanical and electrical infrastructure, those things can be removed and replaced. A compromised structural frame cannot. That distinction changed the entire financial calculation. The state's own estimates put the cost of simply fixing the existing building at over $525 million by 2026, and that didn't include building anything new. A full gut renovation came to $280 million with a significantly faster timeline. It also would have required guaranteeing that train service at Clark and Lake would not be interrupted throughout. Google also had a strategic reason to move when it did. Chicago's downtown office market had been hammered by the pandemic. Vacancy rates were high, and Google already had roughly 1,800 employees spread across Fulton Market west of the Loop. The Thompson Center offered a chance to anchor in the central business district, directly above the city's best transit connection, while prices and competition were both depressed. Construction began in May 2024 with Clark Construction as general contractor. As of early 2026, the exterior glass is nearly complete and major interior renovation permits have just been issued. The current target for completion and move-in is 2027. Agreeing to renovate the Thompson Center was one thing, actually doing it is another problem entirely. The scale of what had to happen is hard to overstate. Every single original glass panel had to come off the building, thousands of them, before the new curtain wall could go in. Construction crews pulled every original panel off the building, leaving the concrete and steel frame exposed. The original glass had essentially no insulating value whatsoever. The new curtain wall cannot be patched in sections. The system is interconnected, meaning partial replacements create mismatches in pressure and new points of failure. Everything had to be treated as a single continuous replacement project, with the added complexity that the atrium reaches 160 ft at its peak, requiring custom fabricated panels and crane positioning on some of the most congested streets in downtown Chicago. Then there is the mechanical side. Every HVAC system, every pipe, every electrical run from 1985 had to come out. The construction crews needed temporary power and climate control throughout the process. What gets demolished when and what temporary infrastructure fills the gap is as difficult logistically as anything in the structural engineering. The atrium creates its own physics problem. It functions like a thermal chimney, pulling conditioned air upward and making conventional HVAC approaches nearly useless. The building was designed as an open civic space, never meant to be tightly climate-controlled. Turning it into a functional office environment required rethinking the airflow strategy entirely. And all of this has to happen above an active transit station. Clark and Lake runs 20 hours a day. Construction crews operate under vibration limits and sound thresholds at all times, and any work near the station structure requires coordination with the Chicago Transit Authority. Google is also paying to relocate the Clark and Lake Station entrance to the northeast corner of the building on Clark Street as part of the broader project. Here is what Google and the development team are actually doing. And some of this goes well beyond standard renovation practice. The new curtain wall. The original glass is gone. Replacing it is a triple-pane curtain wall system running across the entire building. The outer pane carries a low emissivity coating that blocks solar heat gain. The middle cavity holds argon gas as a thermal buffer. The inner pane provides an additional barrier. The result is a dramatic improvement in insulating performance over the single-pane panels the building ran on for 4 decades. The new glass is bird-friendly with a fritted dot pattern built into the panels to prevent collisions and is being sourced from Minnesota. As of early 2026, the exterior glass is nearly complete on the west and north facades. The original salmon teal and white color scheme is gone, replaced by silvers and grays, though the 17-story atrium form stays intact. The all-electric conversion. Natural gas is being removed from the building completely. The replacement system is built around high-efficiency heat pumps throughout, paired with variable refrigerant flow technology that allows individual climate zones to be managed independently. A heat recovery system captures waste heat from zones being cooled and redirects it toward zones that need heating simultaneously. This approach matters most for the atrium, where different levels naturally develop different microclimates that a single zone system could never address properly. Solving the atrium. Rather than fighting the thermal chimney effect, the engineering approach is designed to work alongside it. Radiant ceiling panels provide gentle ambient heating and cooling without forcing large volumes of air through the space. Displacement ventilation at floor level introduces cooler air that rises naturally as it absorbs heat from occupants and surfaces. Destratification fans near the top keep hot air from pooling and accumulating. The atrium will also remain open to the public during business hours, consistent with how the building functioned when the state occupied it. the smart building layer. Thousands of sensors will monitor temperature, humidity, carbon dioxide, and occupancy across every zone in real time. The building management system learns usage patterns and conditions only the spaces actually in use rather than running full systems on a fixed schedule. Predictive maintenance flags equipment issues before they become failures, which matters enormously for a building that spent decades cycling between crises. The LEED Platinum target. The project is pursuing LED Platinum certification connected to Google's broader commitment to carbon-free energy. A rooftop solar array, rainwater harvesting, and demolition material reuse support the overall sustainability targets. For a building that consumes more to run than comparable loop buildings combined, reaching that standard would be a complete reversal. The Thompson Center renovation is happening at a specific moment in Chicago's downtown story, and the timing matters. The pandemic hit the loop hard. Office vacancies climbed to record levels, and retail foot traffic followed the same downward arc. Weekend numbers have recovered, but the weekday commercial core is still rebuilding. Google's $280 million commitment has already shifted how investors and developers talk about the central business district. Multiple adaptive reuse projects on Lell Street are moving forward, at least partly because Google's presence has restored confidence in the neighborhood's direction. The preservation community has complicated feelings about how this turned out. The building was saved, the atrium is staying, and the structural form is intact, but the original color scheme is gone. The building still has no landmark designation, and Helmut Jahn died in May of 2021 when he was struck by cars while cycling near his home outside Chicago. He never saw the renovation. His son Evan Jahn and the Jahn firm are the architects of record and have approached the redesign with clear respect for the original intent. Google is betting that a transit-connected, fully rebuilt urban headquarters can win the competition for engineering talent in a world where remote and hybrid work have permanently changed expectations. Most companies are making a different bet. By the time the building opens in 2027, we will start getting some early signals about who read the moment correctly. Here is the question worth sitting with. Do you think a rebuilt world-class bling in a city's central transit hub actually changes the calculus for people deciding whether to come into an office every day? Or has that decision already been made for reasons that no amount of triple-pane glass can change? Drop your answer in the comments. Subscribe for more mega build stories.